You may have noticed that I have a clean cup of water and I have some watercolors already out. That is not because today we are doing watercolor. Well, actually, we are doing watercolor, but those were out because I was using them yesterday. But because I was using them yesterday, I didn't want to not use them today. So we're doing some watercolor. Today, instead of doing roll for inspiration, which I normally do on when we're not doing the Disney princesses, I had a request from my other mother, Jen, who we talked about in the episode last week, about doing like kind of a colorization of an old black and white photo. And she sent me a picture of her mother from my other grandmother from 1941, and she's about a 10-year-old little girl holding a doll, and I thought that was a really cool idea, so I'm gonna do that as today's video. And I'm not going to be colorizing the photo itself because obviously Jen has the original photo. But I wanted to stretch my watercolor muscles because I decidedly have not been doing as much watercolor as I would like. So I decided today would be a good day to do some watercolor. And that's what we're gonna do today. Yeah, I'm gonna make my, I thought I put you on airplane mode, helicopter mode. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do today, and I'm gonna be doing this picture. The picture she sent me originally wasn't as blurry. However, my printer decided that it wanted to do its own rendition of this picture, and that's what it gave me. So, you know, I guess that's what we're going to start with. Yeah, have this little... Yeah, I don't know what to do during... I guess I just haven't been in the mood to talk a lot, I suppose, lately. So I just haven't been talking. But I feel like I kind of liked last week when my mom sent in her story about me watching Little Mermaid for the first time. And I liked how that was the line art or the penciling was sped up. And I know I keep trying to make time to do time-lapse videos, but it never, I have a lot of clients in the area, so I've just been really busy with that, and with some of my time-lapse videos, they're just not, like, I just don't have the time to plan them out and all of that, so much less like record the video. So what might have to happen is that I record the artistry of it, and then I just edit, or I write what I need to write for the voiceover as I go. That still is her really long arm. scrunched up a lot. Like, can't really tell where. There's a lot. So the idea that Jen had proposed to me was that an artist takes a black and white photo, and the parts that are hard to see, like this arm here, and some of the details in the doll and in her dress alone, are kind of made up because of just the way that the picture is and the quality of the photo, because it's 1941. That the artist kind of uses their imagination to come up with the details and what's going on with the outfit. And my printer decided to give me an even extra challenge by eating what little detail was there. Yeah, I've been having some difficulties with my printer because I have been using off-brand ink. Don't tell anybody. For it, because branded ink is expensive. And off-brand ink is like, oh, I can get everything for $20 and let's go. And my printer, some of the ink cartridges I've been getting aren't like to the HP standards of the of my printer, because it is an HP printer. So you know, it's not happy about the quality of the cartridges because they're cheap cartridges, and it pretends like it doesn't like them when it's the same it's the same cartridge. But you know, printers are a thing, you know. They are just absolutely exhausting to deal with, and my printer is getting old enough now where it's not obsolete, but some of the drivers are, so I have to, like, I'm constantly updating the drivers. I think that's a flower bonnet, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to call it a flower bonnet. So yeah, I'm just dealing with a persnickety printer because there's no way I'm paying $60 for one black ink cartridge when I can get the same exact cartridge for a third of the price, and also double. So maybe a sixth of a price, because if I'm getting two of them for $20, no, I'm getting, not only am I getting two black cartridges, but I'm also getting the color cartridges, which would probably be about $60-$70 total. I'm getting all of that for $20. So, you know, there's no reason for the ink to be so expensive. Because I'm not looking for like high quality stuff. I'm just looking for just print my paper, or just print this thing. And luckily there is a print shop in town where I can very easily, this doesn't look like a baby doll, I can very easily just go over there and pay the guy $2 a print, or $2 a page, to print high quality stuff. But it's just, nonsense that I have to pay so much, and then my printer is just like, well, I don't like it, so we're not gonna use it properly, or we're not gonna work with it. We're gonna hate it forever and treat it like a new baby in the house, when I was supposed to be the only one ever. And then I can't remember. I'm gonna give her these little socks that have scallops on it, because I think her shirt sleeve has scallops. I can't remember if they do. These look like fairly comfortable shoes. They're like almost like loafers. And I gotta, Jen sent me a better picture of those shoes, and I did not print them off. Because I was like, oh, I only need one. I like how she's facing into the sun. It's just like, done with it, because that's me. Oh, I have to look at the sun. Alright, take your picture. Get these memories forever. Pretty sure I had a haircut like this. This isn't even my, like, biological mother. Or biological grandmother. The doll's tilted too far away, but it's artistic representation. Yeah, it was kind of hard for us to get a good picture of them, so, pretty sure. I mean, I can't draw shoes anyway, so. Looks like we have this tree in the background here, because it's casting, and then we have this fence. Oh no, it is lower, isn't it? Yeah. Like I'm going to be able to do a lot of my favorite technique, which is the with my brush. Let me hit this here. Cool. So this is going to be interesting. Yeah, so it looks like mostly be grass, and that's a tree. I don't know. And then she has this diamond pattern on her dress. So I don't want to use my liner for this because my liner is really thick, but that's really thin. And really I'm only going to be using the liner on her and the doll because I want those to be the focal points. Remember last week when I was saying don't freehand a hand? You don't know what I just did? Yeah. Yep. Do as I say, not as I do. I swear my kneading eraser was in here. No, because I was playing with it recently. There it is. So my phone decided that it didn't have any space on it for some reason. I'm not sure why. But I might have to check in a couple minutes to make sure that some of this had got recorded. Because it's saying I can only record 13 more minutes, which doesn't make any sense. So we'll see what's going on with that. Okay. So my plan was to take one of these sheets that I colored all over in previous episodes and kind of find because what I see a lot of watercolor people do is they create like this wash over the whole page and then they paint on top of that. And I thought that was really cool, and I've never really done anything like that before, and I thought that would be a pretty cool challenge for us today. And since we're doing like an older picture, maybe I could do kind of like a sepia tone, you know? Right now, just oof. You can see which colors I abuse the most. Yeah. I think that's a good blend. Get out one of my bigger brushes. Just drop that in there. Oh, okay. It's gonna be a little dark, but we can make it work. Especially around the edges, we want it to be a little dark, kind of like a vignette. Now I have to watch the clock. I really hope that I didn't lose like a significant amount of footage because I was not paying attention. And I would hate to start this over. But yeah, I'm pretty good about like deleting a whole bunch of stuff off of my phone. So I don't know why it's suddenly like, you don't have any space. Just doesn't make any sense to me. Get the lighter in the middle, push all the color to the outside for as much as we can, really. And then because we want the inside to be pretty light because that's the focal point. But I really kind of want to antique these edges as much as possible. So while it's still pretty wet, we're going to make some age marks with a paper towel. All that. All right, now one of these days I'll use an actual palette to mix my colors. So I had to delete like a bunch of stuff off of my phone, which, you know, is par for the course. But I think before I did that, I was pondering how I wanted I don't have any binder clips in here, do I? Probably not, no. Yeah, I was pondering how best to tackle this. Like if I want to do the background first, if I want to do something else first, but let's go and just go ahead and tackle this background. I don't usually do the background first on a lot of things, but you know, today is a day for trying new things. And I think somebody's dog running in the back of their truck. I don't like that when dogs are in the back of, like, in truck beds. I don't know why. Unless, like, the dog is, like, really well trained, but I still don't like it. Because, like, what if, like, the truck flips over, you know? Or what if, like, it hits a bump and the dog is standing up unexpectedly and... yeah, it just doesn't seem safe to me. What I hate more is when people put their dogs in the back of the truck in a crate. And it's like, dude, just put the dog in your cab with you. But if you're like, well, the dog isn't well trained enough, then it's like, well, okay, take the time to train it. If you don't have time to train a dog, you shouldn't have a dog. But I'll just like put it in your cab. That's your baby, and you're treating it like another piece of yard equipment. That's not how that works. We got there's a big old tree here. What are you doing? You've got blankets and pillows all over the place. Huh? Just gonna put some here. We're gonna put a big old tree right over this spot. Make that just a tad darker. Okay. It's not dirty blonde enough. Just want to darken up her hair just a bit. Even though I know it's like, let's do the background first. And here I am putting details in places that's not the background. No. Okay. Now, let's see what kind of brush I have that would be good for putting leaves on trees. There's a lot of green on here. And mix it with black. Yeah, this is like one of my all-time favorite things to do is trees and bushes with watercolor, because you don't have to worry about getting details exactly right. You can just stab at the paper and it'll look like trees and bushes eventually. Eventually being the operative term here. I like to do it with like some of these cheaper brushes, especially like the really soft ones, because they I don't care if they get like deformed, because they're meant to be used for stuff like this, which I guess is called stippling. And let's just activate all of these right now. Oof. At least that one's glued back together, so that's cool. Alright, there is a problem with it needing to be drier, especially with watercolor because the colors will just bleed into one another. So it's a very slow build up. Whereas like with acrylic, you could, you do have to be careful, because if you stipple too much on top of another color, then you mix those colors, but you can still like layer the colors pretty quickly one after the other. You cannot do that with watercolor because they all bleed into each other. So while that's doing that, we might as well just kind of get some of this taken care of, shall we? So there's a lighter green going on here because that's where like the sun is and everything. So let's do, maybe too green, but it's also reactivating that the sepia color we created earlier, and which is fine. Just want that to be a bit. We really like, I'm going for like a more muted tone with these, which I'm not sure if that's what Jen had in mind. But I really do like doing colorizations like this. It just because I was creating a program at the library I used to work at. It was a craft program where you took the skin tone markers that Crayola had come out with, and you create a sepia portrait. And the challenge was to take a colored, or a picture with like lots of vibrant color in it, and turn it into a sepia color. And I think I really enjoyed that project. I don't know about the kids that I had to inflict that project upon, but I really enjoyed that. And I now own a ton of the multicultural markers from Crayola, and you know what, one day we'll do one of those sepia portraits, because I really enjoy doing that. And we'll, if anybody knows of a draw this in your style picture that they want me to draw in my style, let me know, and I will add that to my list of things that we could draw during that video, which I don't know if I'm going to remember it in 2 weeks time, because next week we are doing another Disney princess. But yeah. Trying not to get too much on her, but as we all know, I don't color in the lines. Which is probably why watercolor is kind of made for me. And I'm not really like stabbing very hard either. I'm just kind of like trying to touch the very tip of the brush against the paper. I really need to get a hairdryer. And I gotta be careful around her head, which still isn't blonde enough. It almost has like a ginger color to it. And also what I like about stippling is that you can get you don't have to like plan where the light will come through the trees. It just kind of plans it for you, which I think is really cool. And that also kind of gives it more of a random vibe to it, where it's just like, if you were to plan it out, it wouldn't be so, it would like, it wouldn't be so random and natural. It'd be like, oh, this looks like it's following a pattern, because as people, we typically follow patterns, and because that's just in our nature to do so. And anybody's like, I don't follow a pattern, then you're wrong, because it's human nature. That's why, like, we have certain things, like we have like the Mandela effect, we have pareidolia, things like that. That's where it becomes from our most basic of instincts to find patterns in things. That's like what we as people, like as humans, we look for patterns. And if someone's like, oh, I don't follow a pattern, it's because they're so used to their personal pattern that they think it's random when it's really not. I think one of the best examples of this was an episode of, it was either Law and Order SVU or it was Law and Order Criminal Intent. I really don't remember because I was watching both of them at the same time and they just kind of milled in my brain as one entity. But the team, who I want to say was Elliot and, oh, I don't remember her name, but yeah, but it could have been Vincent D'Onofrio and his, I don't remember his character name, but I remember Vincent D'Onofrio. Yeah, so I really don't remember. They were going after a serial killer, and that serial killer was killing people in pentagrams, or pentagons, I should say. Pentagrams are something completely different, and without realizing it. And spoiler alert for something that was like came out like 10 years ago, probably more than 10 years ago, geez. They were talking to this accountant who was in the middle of like a very messy divorce, because his ex-wife was like keeping the kids away from him, which as it turns out was a good thing, for the kids at least. And he was stalking them, taking pictures of the kids. I want to say it was criminal intent. Anyway, and he was doing all of that, all the while he was killing these people. And he was just like, he was helping the detectives on the case, and he's like, this guy doesn't have a pattern. And let's just say it was Vincent D'Onofrio. Vincent D'Onofrio looks at it and he's like, no, there is a very clear pattern here, because he showed him the pentagon shape that the guy had been making, because nothing is random when it comes to a particular person. It's like you can plan stuff as randomly as you can try, but the only real way to do that is to allow nature to decide what is truly random. And even nature follows a mathematical formula as well. So it's not, nothing is truly random. Alright, and I think that's really interesting. So, but yeah, that's one of the things, especially with like pareidolia cases where people see faces in objects that shouldn't have faces. That's a thing in, it's big in the paranormal community where people, it's like, oh, that's a face and in a particular shadow, and really it's not. And it's not that that's not a that may or may not be the picture of a spirit, but there could be an explanation for it. Like, because there are times when we want to see something, and so we have this bias. It's called the confirmation bias of like, that was a face. That's who was talking to me when I was asking questions, and really it's not. But it also with like EVPs where people will say something and they get a response in an EVP, and I don't know about y'all, but EVPs are not just absolute nothing to me. Like, really, absolutely nothing, because I cannot understand anything. But as soon as somebody tells me, oh, they're saying this, then I can hear it. But I'm like, am I hearing it because somebody told me that's what I'm supposed to be listening for? Or is that what this is, is that what it's actually saying? But the thing with that is, you don't know, because it's confirmation bias. Like, oh, I can hear it now because somebody told me that's what I'm supposed to be listening for. So you don't know, right? So I don't know. I don't. Some EVPs are really clear, so it's like, oh yeah, they're definitely saying, hey, get out, or something like that. But it's the ones that people swear by that I'm kind of like, anyway, I watch a lot of ghost shows. So just one of those things where it's like, this is my hill and I will die on, and that hill is EVPs are not the best source of I'm forgetting all my words. The best source of evidence, especially when it's like, I cannot understand a single thing that is being said on this recording, and yet this guy next to me is swearing up and down that it's telling him to go F himself, like that's confirmation bias. And it's like, oh yeah, now I can hear it because somebody told me that I can hear it. So, do we really know what those EVPs are saying? And I say no. I think we want to believe that they say something. I really should be using a smaller brush for like getting inside the lines, but we don't come here to watch somebody color in the lines, now do we? So I'm trying, like, every time I go off on a tangent like that, or I'm like, I try to backtrack to where I was getting before, and I'm like, how did I get to EVPs? And I'm like, oh yeah, we were talking about patterns. I was like, but why were we talking about patterns? Why were we talking about pareidolia? Because I was talking about how you don't want to plan, if you're doing a scene like this, you don't want to plan out all the tree holes, or where the light comes through the leaves of a tree. You want to make them seem random. I guess now we can start working on this dress. I don't know what color I want it to be. Blue was a very popular girls' color in that era. So let's do kind of a wash of blue. We should get a big one. And we'll give the doll like a little bit of a matching dress. I just want to pick up the pigment, please. There you go. This was around, well, you know what? This was around the time, this was 1941, so this was a during World War II, and it was around this time that pink was wasn't seen as a masculine color, because the Nazis were using pink to denote someone who was homosexual. And for whatever reason, Americans, I'm fairly certain not just Americans, but a vast majority of people were like, oh God, if you're wearing pink, the Germans will think you're gay. And thus began the whole, because pink started out as a masculine color because it was a hint a hint of red. It was a tint of red, and red was seen as a very masculine color, and blue was seen as a girl's color because it was very soft and cold. It was a colder temperature one, and red was warm and fiery like a man. And so you have this whole, the pink started to be seen as more of a feminine color in the 1940s because of people afraid of homosexuals. So if you think pink is men shouldn't wear pink because it's gay, you are homophobic. And also, you agree with Nazis. And that's not an opinion, that is straight up facts. So if you agree with Nazis that pink is not for men because it's gay, you might want to reevaluate your life choices. Just saying. I don't make the rules, but if you're going to enforce them, then know the rule. Then you should know the history of those rules. Da-da-da. Trying to think, like, have I watched anything recently that I can talk about? And no, I cannot. Why? Because blarg. Because I haven't really watched anything significant in the past week because I have been really, really busy. One of the things that was going on, especially this weekend, was the town that I live in was having a town-wide garage sale day. However, it was pouring down rain, and even though I really wanted to be able to sell like some of my art this weekend, it was just not going to happen. So I instead opened an Etsy store. So yeah, that happened. My original hope was to open a Store Envy instead, but Store Envy requires PayPal. And my problem with that was that PayPal and I do not like each other. In fact, PayPal adamantly despises me. And now I can't even get into my PayPal account because it has been so long since I've tried to access my account that I have switched phone numbers. Because there was a point in time where I just like switched my phone number like 3 times in 1 year. That was a whole to-do. And yeah, what wound up happening is like now I can't access my original PayPal account, and now I have to create an entirely new bank account, which I've been planning to do anyway, for various reasons. One of those reasons being that the closest branch of the closest branch of my bank is an hour and a half away, which makes things stupid difficult, as you can imagine. Yeah, it's like directly in the sun, so there's like no shadow on the dress, but I'm gonna put shadow on the dress because that's how I roll. I make up lighting, which is something you all should know about me by now. You're not here for accuracy. One thing I do like about watercolor is how imprecise it is. Like, it is very just everything everywhere all the time, you know? If you're not careful, you could wind up with a tree colored face, or your face could slowly evolve its way into another direction. And I actually kind of like that because it adds like a bit of a challenge the to the work. It's like, how do I get this to function the way I want to? But I also enjoy how just the overall, like, not just the challenge, but the fact that it does whatever it wants, because it moves with the flow. It's like, I'm gonna go over here, now I'm gonna go over here, because that's where the water is. Like, it travels with the water, which I think is really cool. And it just, the way, I don't know if I'm explaining this correctly, but I really like that. um, because like I like to be in control of things, but with watercolor I can't control water. And ooh, there's your water bending special ability, painting with watercolor. That would be so cool. uh since I can't control water, I try to work with it instead of against it. Because once you start working against something, it starts working against you. Oops. Got too close and now it's ruined forever. So now I'm going to do this thing that I never do, and that's use a smaller brush. Oof, I'm getting hungry. It is about that time. Now I have white, just because this palette came with it. Let's see what it looks like. Not bad. At least it's not skin tone. Or her skin tone. I want there to be like a significant difference between the foreground tree, or the middle ground tree, mid-ground tree, and the background trees. I'll just bring in some of that too. Sorry, this is really like one of my favorite things to do when it comes to like trees and bushes and stuff, is just the stippling part of it. Alright, so now I think I should get a little bit of this blue. Just kind of do this. Make it, it's kind of green, doesn't it? That's probably because it's still, oop. Well, that's also because I used green. My water is green. My tissue is green. but just gonna layer on the blue a little bit. I don't want it to be like the same like that. Just enough to be like, oh hey, a blue sky. Alright, so there we have Iris Rudine Ferris Paget. Iris Rudine Paget. Let's find a good dry area for our signature. And that is how we colorize black and white photos. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see y'all next time. Bye-bye.